One, so far we've explored a lot of concepts regarding the renal physiology. Now we look at water balance and concentration and dilution of urine. Okay, water balance, concentration, and dilution of urine. The way we concentrate urine depends on the hydration status of the body. Okay, so urine will either be concentrated or dilute depending on the status, water status of the body, which we call hydration. Okay. Now, the most important thing we need to understand is that the osmolarity of body fluids is 290 milliosmoles per liter. So the process by which this is maintained is called osmoregulation. So even small deviation in body fluid osmolarities will produce a set of hormonal responses that can alter water reabsorption by the kidneys. The reason is to attempt to return osmolarity back towards the normal values. Okay. Now, a question may be asked, what would be the response of the kidneys to water deprivation? What would be the response of the kidneys to water deprivation? For example, you are lost in the forest where there is no water, in a hot environment for more than 8 hours. How will the kidneys respond? It's simple. We'll follow these steps. Number one, deprivation of water will be a stimulus, resulting into increase in plasma osmolarity. We know the normal is 290. So the plasma osmolarity may even increase more than 290 milliosmoles per liter. Okay. And number two, because of increase in osmolarity, this will stimulate the osmoreceptors in the anterior hypothalamus. When the receptors in the anterior hypothalamus are stimulated, there will be increased in ADH secretion from the posterior pituitary gland, because we know the ADH is secreted by the posterior pituitary gland. When that happens, ADH will act on the kidneys because it's a hormone. It carries a message. So the ADH will act on the hormone, where it will increase water permeability of the principal cells, which are located in the late distal tubules and the collecting duct. So it will cause insertion of aquaporins. Okay. As a result, there will be increase in water reabsorption. When that happens, when water reabsorption increases, there will be urine osmolarity increases. The urine that is produced will become more concentrated. And also the urine volume will be reduced because there's conservation of water. So as a result, the plasma osmolarity will move towards normal. Okay. There's this other loop. The osmoreceptors will also give a sensation of thirst. Okay, will increase thirst sensation. You start to look for water. And then once you find the water, there will be water drinking. And that water drinking will restore the plasma osmolarity to normal. So this is the response of the kidney to water. To water deprivation. The other one, what is the response of the kidney to water drinking? Like overhydration. You have drunk too much water. Okay? You've drunk too much water. So when a person drinks water, the ingested water is distributed throughout the body fluids. Okay? It will reduce the plasma osmolarity. The concentration will reduce. the plasma will become dilute. So this decrease in osmolarity will inhibit the osmoreceptors, will inhibit the osmoreceptors in the anterior hypothalamus from secreting ADH. Remember, the hormone that is involved in regulation of water is antidiuretic hormone. Okay, there are other hormones like aldosterone, but this is because they regulate sodium reabsorption. So wherever sodium goes, water follows. So there will be decrease in ADH secretion from the posterior pituitary gland, and then this will decrease water permeability of principal cells in the late distal tubules and collecting duct. And then there will be decrease in water reabsorption. Okay, we don't want, because there's too much water, we don't want the kidneys to be absorbing a lot of water. So the kidneys will become permeable. And then the urine osmolarity increases and the urine volume will increase. Okay, so the plasma osmolarity will be brought towards normal. So this is what we call the behavior. So we have behavior effects and biological effects. Behavior effect, there will be decrease in thirst and water drinking. Okay, so you've seen the importance of antidiuretic hormone in all this situation. It's a very important hormone in regulation of water. Okay. Now, just on that, let's look at the mechanism of action of the same antidiuretic hormone. We've said that antidiuretic hormone is released from the posterior pituitary gland. It is carried in blood because it's an endocrine hormone, and the receptors for antidiuretic hormone, they are located on the principal cells of the kidneys. Okay, so it binds to the ADH receptors, which is a G protein carbonate receptors. When it binds, it activates adenylyl cyclase, an intracellular enzyme, intermembrane enzyme. When adenyl cyclase is activated, this pronunciation, you need to be very careful the way you pronounce these words. It's adenylyl cyclase. It converts ATP to cyclic AMP. And then cyclic AMP is the second messenger. It will activate this protein kinases A, which they will increase phosphorylation. And then phosphorylation result into insertion of the aquaporins on the renal tubules. Okay. Once the aquaporins inserts, water can easily move into the cells, can easily be reabsorbed. Okay, so this mechanism inside is called transduction mechanism. We're going to talk about it very much when we look at the endocrine system. But this is a transduction mechanism that happens at intracellular level. Okay, where chemicals are involved in bringing about physiological response. Now, production of hyperosmotic urine. We won't waste much time. The key word here is hyperosmotic urine. In what condition is hyperosmotic urine? It is produced in conditions such as dehydration. Hyperosmotic urine is a urine that is concentrated. What makes production of hyperosmotic urine? It's the presence of ADH. Once ADH binds to these renal tubules, water can easily move from the renal tubules into blood, because there is already a corticopapillary gradient. Okay, this is the interstitial. The interstitial is more, it has a lot of solutes, especially down there. So it's easy for water to move from the region of low solute to a region of high solute by osmosis. So this gradient, the corticopapillary gradient, it's a natural gradient which is found in the kidneys. Okay? So water can easily move by osmosis. So that's how hyperosmotic urine is produced. Remember, hyperosmotic urine is produced when ADH is high. Hyperosmotic urine is produced when ADH is low. Similar mechanism. this becomes impermeable to water. So water cannot be reabsorbed. Okay. So it becomes more like a diluting segment. So we are losing a lot of water from the body in the absence of ADH. The other important thing which I want to mention is diuretics. Okay, what are diuretics? Diuretics or diuretic agents are the substances which enhances the urine formation and output. These substances increase the excretion of water, they increase the secretion of sodium and chloride through urine. However, except for one category of diuretics called the potassium-sparing diuretics, all diuretics not only increase sodium excretion but also causes increased potassium excretion, which is an unwanted side effect. We know that potassium is needed for action potentials. Okay. So the major classes of diuretics, we have the osmotic diuretics, like mannitol. We have the diuretics which inhibit active reabsorption of electrolytes, such as the loop diuretics, which inhibits the electrolyte reabsorption in the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. Example, furosemide. We have the diuretics which inhibit active transport of electrolytes in the proximal part of the distal convoluted tubules. We have the diuretics which inhibit active transport of electrolyte in the distal part of the distal convoluted tubules. Okay. These are all called loop diuretics. That's their mechanism of action. And then we have the diuretics that inhibits aldosterone, like spironolactone, eplerenone. These, they inhibit aldosterone. So sodium is not reabsorbed. Sodium remains in the renal tubules. Remember, wherever sodium is, water also follows. And then we have diuretics which inhibit activity of carbonic anhydrous. Okay. We know that carbon dioxide plus water is converted to bicarbonates and hydrogen ions. Okay. So if we have a diuretic that inhibits that, it will affect reabsorption of electrolytes. Okay.